Hello, you absolute legends. When a new GoldenEye world record is achieved, it is a huge deal in the speedrunning community. After more than 20 years and countless hours of effort, each second of improvement becomes exponentially more difficult. As records become more optimized, the time investment needed in order to break them grows larger and larger. But records can't be improved forever. There does come a point in a level's life where the fastest run is so perfect that there is absolutely no way to save another second. Thankfully, almost every level has not reached that point, so there is still plenty of new horizons to explore and achievements to be captured. However, there are a handful of records that seem to be, at least with the knowledge we currently possess, unbeatable. Records that are so optimized they have a legitimate chance of remaining unbroken for the rest of time. Today we will look at 5 world records that, barring some major unexpected discovery, will almost certainly never be beaten again. I hope you enjoy. Now before we begin, I have to give a huge shout out to my boys at Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. This game has honestly helped me tremendously over the past couple of months. I've been working my ass off for this channel, and I'm spending so much time in front of the computer. If I didn't have this game open next to me, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm really enjoying it, and I really want you guys to come and hang out with me and play the game. The game is completely free, it's a turn-based RPG, and there is over 400 champions to collect. If you use the link in my description, you'll get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program. You don't know what those things are until you play the game, but the important thing is, you get them for free. Last time I gave Raid a shout out, my clan filled up pretty much instantly, but since then a few people have gone inactive, so I've given them the flick, they're out. There's a few spots left. If you're quick, you can get in there. I am really enjoying this game. I want to hang out with you guys. Click on the link in the description and I will see you there. Coming in at number 5 is Surface 2 Agent in 46 seconds. Considering how simple this stage is in theory, it actually has a really interesting history. The only objective here is to destroy the communications equipment inside the building with the large satellite dish. A key is normally required to enter the building, which needs a large detour to collect. But we can actually complete the objective using an explosive from outside of the building, which skips the need for getting the key entirely. Over the years, we have seen speedrunners develop new ways of throwing the mine that we use to create the explosion from further and further away. By 2015, the record stood at 48 seconds. And it was pretty much assumed this was the lowest the world record would go. 47 may have been barely theoretically possible to achieve using the strategy known at the time, but it was probably too crazy to ever actually happen, and relied on getting boosted from either guards or grenades they dropped. Players were throwing the mine from as far away as they could in order to avoid having to go too far out of their way. Theoretically, the optimal strategy would be to simply run in a straight line from the beginning of the level to the exit door, and throw the mine somewhere along that path. But that is much too far away to make the distance using a normal throw. The level was broken wide open though when a new method of throwing was found called an R-lean. This is a very precise trick that takes advantage of Bond's speed when he leans to the left or right, which is actually quite a bit faster than his normal running speed. If thrown frame perfectly, the mine will travel at a much faster speed and will cover more distance in the air. This throw was used to achieve 47 in May of 2015. With the new throw, you can essentially head straight to the end, varying only slightly to throw the mine. This was eventually combined with a precise trick at the end, which opens the exit door from above. Normally, it isn't possible to open the door from up here, but because Bond crouches slightly when he lands from a fall, you can use this to get close enough to reach the door's hitbox and open it. The combination of the new throw and this door trick eventuated in 46 being achieved in 2018. This is where the record remains today. And while it's not terribly hard to achieve, it's definitely tight and there isn't much room for error. All of the 46s that were achieved were barely 46. There is hardly any leeway, and because the level is so straightforward, there isn't any time to gain. The line to the end is basically as good as you can get and still execute the door trick. If you wanted to save time on travel distance and run a straight line to the end, the angle would make it impossible to open the door and turn quick enough to not get stuck on the roof. But even if you could open the door, running a straighter line wouldn't save you enough time to lower the record. The line is already pretty decent, so you'd need something else. The throw is already done extremely quickly, being performed in around half a second, so there isn't much time to gain there either. The only real time gain would come from a boost, which you can get from farming a grenade at the start. This would save a maximum of 0.3 seconds, again, not nearly enough. If you combined every single time gain possible, whether it be from a boost, a straighter line, or a quicker throw, that probably still doesn't add up to enough time. All of the 46s that are achieved are a very high decimal, probably 0.8 or 0.9. Something monumental would need to happen to make 45 or lower a possibility. Number 4 on this list is Bunker 1 Agent in 16 seconds. In 2003, Wouter Janssen achieved 17 seconds, and for the longest time it was pretty much assumed the record would stay here forever. Over the years, a few optimizations were found though, which slowly made the feasibility of 16 seconds more and more possible. And 16 was finally achieved in 2018, 15 years after 17 was first set. The question of whether or not this record could potentially go lower is a little tricky because there are two strategies speedrunners can use to get 16. The normal strategy is pretty similar to the one that has always been used, save for a few time saves. The second takes advantage of the fact that when you use the 2.x control scheme, you can analyze the key and throw it in the fade out at the end of the level. Originally, players would pause to select the key analyzer immediately after getting past the glass door, which is now crowded by guards that began to spawn after the alarm was activated. Pausing here allows you to get a few boosts towards the final door. You would then analyze and throw the key before warping through the door to finish the level. In late 2018, a new strategy gained popularity that involved running all the way to the final door and pausing there after you open it. You would then select the 2.x control style and then immediately exit once you've unpaused. Taking advantage of the fact that with 2.x you can shoot in the fade out, you'd have barely enough time to analyze and throw the key after you've already crossed the end zone. Using this strategy, you'd save time by not needing to wait for the final door to open, as that happens during the downtime you normally experience when pausing. But it's not that black and white, as you also lose the potential to get boosted by guards because you've already reached the end of the level when you pause. Ultimately, this 2.x strategy requires less luck to get 16, but is probably theoretically not as quick as what you can get with the older strategy. Several 16s have been achieved, and they are all extremely high, likely 16.9 or 16.8 at best. Using the original 16 as a template, it contained 7 boosts. Realistically, there is only room to squeeze in a single extra boost. The only other obvious time gain is getting a boost through the final door, which definitely can happen, but it's pretty rare. Even if you were to add the extra boost and boost through the final door, this still may not be enough for 15 seconds. Even if it was enough, I'd say the chances of getting a clean run with 8 boosts and a boost through the final door would be too low to ever happen. It may not even be possible to get that many boosts plus the final boost, as guard animations might make that scenario impossible. There aren't even any theoretical strategies that can be implemented here to save time. If a brand new strategy was found, it would probably involve a way to select items from the pause menu without needing to actually pause. Then you'd only need to pause once, or maybe even not at all. If that were the case, the time could definitely go much lower. At the moment though, there is no known way to do this, and it might never be possible. Archives Agent is the shortest level in the game, with the world record standing at only 15 seconds. Short as it may be though, the record is still incredibly difficult and it's extremely tight. 15 has been achieved a handful of times, and each record has been barely 15. The strategy is pretty simple. We need to exit the negotiation room, find Natalia, and then exit the level through a window. The current record is relatively new, having been achieved in late 2017. The previous record of 16 seconds stood for almost 15 years, originally set in 2003. Without any major discoveries, the record would certainly be still standing at 16 seconds today. But the realization that with 2.x you can build speed in the opening cinema changed everything. Not only can you start the level in full speed, which usually takes several seconds to reach, but you can also begin slapping earlier as well. Overall, this saved around half a second. When you combine this time save with a guard boost, saving an extra 0.3, this becomes almost a full second faster. After years of effort, this did end up taking the record lower. But from here, there just doesn't seem to be anywhere else to go. The only obvious way to gain time would be an extra guard boost, though getting 2 boosts on Agent seems to be stupidly uncommon. In all the times I played the level, I don't really recall that ever happening. Still, that wouldn't be anywhere near enough. The luck you need to get 15 is already pretty annoying. It can take hours to get a boost from a guard, which is normally needed, plus you have to worry about Natalia actually seeing you. Speedrunners cut this so finely that most of the time you leave too quickly and she doesn't even see you at all. There is no theoretical strategy to attempt to implement either, and all the luck in the world wouldn't cut off an extra second. I couldn't even begin to theorycraft a way to do this any faster, short of skipping Natalia entirely. Number 2 is Depo Agent in 52 seconds. This is another level where it seemed like the max had been hit early. In 2002, Brian Bossart achieved 53, and it was pretty much taken for granted that this was the lowest the record would ever go. Slowly but surely, new optimizations eventually chipped away at the record and made it much easier to achieve. In 2010, the 2.x control style we mentioned earlier saved 0.3 seconds at the very start of the level by allowing Bond to start running in full speed. In 2017, a new discovery allowed us to get the double gate to open slightly faster. This gate is actually opened by a guard, and this guard needs to get through 2 animations before he opens the gate. The speed at which he does these animations is a bit random, so you're never going to get fast gates every time. But what we learned is that you can load the guard 0.2 of a second earlier by looking up in the tunnel beforehand. It is at this corner that the double gate area, including the guard that opens the gate, loads into the level. It is only once the guard has loaded that he starts his animation before opening the gate. Looking up, and even looking to the side, just happens to load distant objects a little bit earlier. So while the gate is still pretty random, on average it will open quicker. These 2 strategies saved half a second in total. 53 had already been achieved without any guard boosts, and we knew it was possible to achieve 3 boosts in theory, so it was just a matter of time until 52 was achieved. The eventual run of 52 seconds achieved in December of 2017 contained every realistic time save available, and even then it was extremely high, probably 52.9. People have attempted to theorycraft different ways to save more time, even if only to make attaining 52 a bit easier. One strategy that is brought up pretty often is a guard lure that sometimes gives you an extra boost on the dam just before the end. However, this is much too difficult to actually execute and ultimately doesn't save much time. You would need at least 3 extra guard boosts, totaling 6 boosts to even have a theoretical chance at 51, and this just isn't possible. We already know how the gate works, and there is no way to open that quicker. Something crazy would need to be found to take this record any lower. Coming in at number 1 is Depo Agent in 23 seconds. Depo is another level that seems incredibly simple on the surface, but has a really rich history and a plethora of different strategies used over the years. The goal is really simple. We just need to get to the train. The original max for the level was assumed to be 26 seconds, which was set all the way back in 2002. Aside from simply running to the train in the shortest path, the only trick used in the run involves shooting through the side of the train in order to lure out guards. These guards open a large roller door before we get there, saving around 3 seconds. The discovery of the 2.x control scheme really changed how this level was played, as not only did it enable you to start the level in full speed, but it also enabled you to lure out a guard by shooting in the opening cutscene. This guard would sometimes give you a boost halfway through the level. This boost took ages to actually get. You'd sometimes have to wait hours to get boosted a single time. These optimizations saved barely enough time to make 25 possible, which was achieved in 2010. Now, people really thought the level could never go lower. But again, the level was broken in 2015 when the very first door warp was achieved. This was a warp that we knew was possible with cheats, but we could never get it to work in standard play. This enabled us to skip running through the building, and it didn't take long for the record to be lowered to 23 seconds. It's actually pretty surprising to me that 23 was achieved so quickly, because it's really tight. You only have a few frames of leeway to work with. If anything goes wrong at all, it's pretty much game over, and the best you can hope for is 24. The 23s have all been achieved without attempting to lure out the guard for a boost. Both the warp and the boost are very uncommon, so trying to combine them would be an insane decision. Though even if you got the boost, you would only be pasting around 23.6 or so. It is actually possible to warp the far roller door just before the train. This would mean you wouldn't need to wait for the roller door to open, but because it's out of your way, you lose almost all the time you'd be hoping to save. Even with everything combined, the boost and warping 2 roller doors, getting 22 is still likely impossible on a console. Aside from simply running through walls, I don't see any way this record could ever be beaten. Well, there you have it. To break any of these records would need something very special to happen. Hopefully, a genius comes up with something, as the prospect of breaking impossible records is always very exciting. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.